The gates of the Hale estate are wrought iron, 12 feet tall and always closed. Behind them, on the second floor of a house with 11 bedrooms, a 9-year-old girl sits by the window every single morning at exactly 7 o'clock, watching the street below, and she has not said a single word in 4 years. Her name is Claire. Her father, Richard Hale, built one of the largest logistics companies on the East Coast from nothing, and yet all his money, all his connections, all the specialists flown in from Boston and Geneva and Tokyo, have not been able to make his daughter speak again. The doctors call it selective mutism triggered by acute trauma. The tabloids call her the silent heiress. The household staff, when they think no one is listening, call her slow, or worse, broken. Richard remembers the day it started. He remembers the sirens, the rain, the sound of metal folding in on itself. He remembers picking Claire up from the wreckage of a car that no longer looked like a car, unharmed on the outside and hollow on the inside. Her mother did not survive that night. Claire has not spoken since. For 4 years, Richard has tried everything a man with unlimited resources can try. Speech therapists who left frustrated, psychologists who filled notebooks with theories and offered no answers, a private tutor who once snapped in a moment of exhaustion, "Maybe she simply doesn't want to try," not realizing Claire was standing in the doorway, listening to every word. Claire didn't cry. She just turned around and walked back to her room, and something in her closed a little tighter that day. This is where our story begins, not with the accident, but 4 years later, on an ordinary Tuesday morning, when a garbage truck turns onto Hale Lane for the very first time. The man riding on the back of that truck is named Walter Reyes, 52 years old, gray at the temples, hands rough from 30 years of manual work. He is not the kind of man anyone on this street usually notices. He empties bins, he nods at security guards who barely nod back, and he moves on. But on his first morning on this new route, as the truck slows in front of the Hale estate, Walter looks up, and he sees a small girl in a window on the second floor, watching him with an intensity that stops him mid-motion. She isn't looking at the truck. She's looking at him. Walter doesn't know her story yet. He doesn't know about the accident, the silence, the parade of doctors who gave up. All he knows is that something about the way this child watches the world, quiet, alert, folded inward like she's protecting something fragile, feels achingly familiar to him. He lifts his hand and waves, just once. Simple, unhurried, no expectation attached to it. Claire doesn't wave back, but she doesn't look away either. The next morning, Walter waves again, and the morning after that. For nearly 2 weeks, this is the entire relationship between them. A man on a garbage truck and a girl in a window, and a small wave that means nothing to anyone else in the world and everything to the two of them. Before you keep watching, if stories like this one move you the way they move me, take a second to hit that subscribe button. It truly helps this channel keep telling stories worth telling. Now back to Claire and Walter. Inside the house, nobody notices this small ritual at first. The staff are used to Claire sitting at that window. They've stopped wondering why. But one afternoon, the housekeeper, Marta, catches Claire doing something she hasn't done in years, smiling faintly, privately, at nothing anyone else can see. Marta follows her gaze out the window and sees only a garbage truck pulling away. She doesn't think much of it. Not yet. Walter, for his part, begins doing something quietly deliberate. He starts arriving a few minutes early to the Hale estate, timing his route so he has an extra moment by that section of the curb. One morning, instead of just waving, he holds up a small object, a tiny wooden bird he carved himself, a hobby left over from a life Walter doesn't like to talk about. He sets it gently on top of the stone wall bordering the property, right where Claire can see it from her window, and continues his route. The next day, the bird is gone from the wall. Walter smiles to himself and says nothing. This becomes their language. A carved bird, a pressed leaf shaped like a heart, a smooth stone painted the color of the sky. Every few days, a small object appears on that wall, and every few days it disappears, taken inside by small hands that no longer have words but clearly still have feelings that need somewhere to go. Richard Hale finds out about this by accident, 3 weeks in. He's leaving early for a meeting when he sees his daughter, his silent, guarded, untouchable daughter, standing at the wall at 7 in the morning, waiting. He watches, frozen, as a garbage truck slows down and a stranger in a work uniform leans out and says something to her. Claire doesn't answer, But she doesn't run either. She stays. That night, Richard does something he almost never does. He asks the head of security to find out who this man is. Not to threaten him, to understand him. What he learns changes everything. Walter Reyes was not always a garbage collector. 15 years ago, he was a mechanic with his own small shop, married, with a 6-year-old son named Danny. Danny had a rare neurological condition that made speech difficult for him, something that doctors struggled to fully explain, let alone treat. Walter spent years learning patience most people never have to learn. How to read a child's eyes when the child cannot use his voice. How to celebrate a single sound the way other parents celebrate full sentences. Danny was making progress, slow, hard-won progress. And then, one winter, a fever turned into something the local hospital couldn't manage in time. And Danny died before he ever spoke his first full word. Walter's marriage did not survive the grief. His shop closed not long after. He rebuilt his life piece by piece quietly, without asking anyone for sympathy, and eventually found steady, honest work collecting trash before dawn. Work most people look past. Work that let him be invisible, which for a long time was exactly what he needed to be. When Richard learns this, something in his chest tightens painfully. This man on his daughter's street isn't a stranger who stumbled into their lives. He's someone who has already walked through the exact kind of silence Claire is trapped in. Not as an observer, but as a father who lost the chance to hear his own son's voice. Richard doesn't fire him. He doesn't warn him away either. Instead, on a quiet Sunday, he does something that surprises his entire household. He walks out to the gate himself and asks Walter Reyes to come inside for coffee. It is an awkward, careful conversation at first. Two men from entirely different worlds, but by the end of it, Richard asks a question he never thought he'd ask a stranger. "Do you think you could help her?" Walter answers honestly, "I can't promise anything, Mr. Hale. I couldn't save my own boy. But I can promise I won't give up on her the way it sounds like some people already have." From that day on, Walter starts coming by even on his days off, sitting on the porch steps at a respectful distance, never pushing, never demanding, simply being present the way he once learned to be present for Danny. He brings small tools, not toys, but real tactile things, a harmonica, a box of chalk, a set of smooth stones. He never asks Claire to talk. He asks her to point, to draw, to hum if she wants to simply exist in the same space as another person without the crushing pressure of being fixed. Weeks pass. Then months. Claire begins drawing pictures for him. The wreck, rain, a woman she never draws a face for. Walter recognizes what he's looking at instantly. This isn't a child who has forgotten how to speak. This is a child who has been silently carrying guilt, believing, in the wordless logic of a traumatized 9-year-old, that if she had said something that night, if she had asked her mother to slow down, to turn back, to wait, the accident might never have happened. Her silence isn't broken machinery. It's a punishment she has been quietly serving for 4 years. One evening, during a sudden, violent thunderstorm, the kind of storm that mirrors the night of the accident almost exactly, Claire has what looks, to the staff, like a complete panic attack. She's curled against her bed, shaking, unreachable, and for the first time, security calls Walter directly because by now, everyone in that house knows who Claire trusts most. Walter arrives soaked from the rain, kneels down at a careful distance, and does not touch her, does not rush her. He simply starts humming, low and steady, the same tune he used to hum for Danny during his own hardest nights. Slowly, Claire's breathing begins to match the rhythm, and then in a voice raw and unused, cracked from 4 years of silence, she says 2 words that shatter the room into stillness. "My fault." It isn't the fairy tale first sentence anyone imagined. It's worse, and it's more honest, and it's exactly what needed to come out first. Walter doesn't flinch. He looks at her, steady, and says the words he never got the chance to say to his own son. "It was never your fault, Claire. Storms don't ask permission, neither did that night." From that moment forward, the words don't flood out all at once. Healing rarely works that way. But they start coming. A name, a question. Eventually, full sentences, halting and imperfect and utterly miraculous to everyone who has waited 4 long years to hear them. Richard Hale, a man who once believed problems could be solved with money and specialists and pressure, learned something from a garbage collector that no consultant ever taught him. That some wounds don't need to be fixed. They need to be witnessed patiently without judgment, for as long as it takes. As for Walter, he never asks for anything in return. When Richard offers him a management position at one of his companies, Walter politely declines. He says he likes his work, that it gave him the freedom to be at that curb every single morning when it mattered most, and that some kinds of purpose can't be bought with a better title. Claire still leaves him small gifts on that stone wall, even now that she can simply walk outside and hand them to him herself. And every morning, at exactly 7 o'clock, a man the world was used to looking past pulls up in a garbage truck, and a girl the world had given up on stands at the window, and between them passes something far more valuable than anything behind those iron gates. Proof that dignity isn't measured by a job title or a bank account, that the people society is quickest to overlook are often the ones capable of the deepest kindness, and that sometimes the person who finally understands your silence is someone who has survived a silence of their own.